The views and opinions expressed during Love and Life with Lana and Dave are those only of the speakers and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or the position of our podcast hosts or affiliates. Any content provided is not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. All right, let's do it.
You're listening to Love and Life with Lana and Dave, the podcast where logic is power and you take control. Thank you for tuning in, making the choice to listen in and get ideas for your own love and life. Now, here are your hosts, Lana Williams and David Vaccaro.
We know you've been waiting for part 2 of the logic of social interaction, so get ready because it's coming at you right now. And if you really want to get your mileage in on this, ladies, and you really have the backbone of it, then this is a good time to make a conversation or to bring up something to say. In my experience, coming at somebody and saying, "Hi, my name is," and shaking hands as a sales pitch, there are people that are going to be a little suspicious of that. It's not even something that they're aware of.
Right.
And if you ever go to one of these networking events, you'll see what I'm saying. If somebody walks up to you and says, "Hey, how you doing? Here's my business card," the other person's going to be like, "Whoa,"
what are you selling me?
It's overwhelming.
Right.
But if you I would say that I call it the side approach. The side approach is really, it works. It's useful. Mm-hmm. It's comfortable. So if you kind of side up to them and ask them a question, hey, find something common, like, hey, have you been here before? What kind of music do they have on another night? Or, you know, is there a place around here where you know of that, has the music like this? Or, hey, if you're at the bar, you can point to something and say, hey, what kind of drink is that? Or have you pointed their drink and say, hey, what's in that? Or how are the drinks here? Or something like that.
Right. Anything that can start a conversation is a good opener. Yeah. Right.
So it's just a curious open question that they can answer. Just to kind of, it's almost like I call it a by the way question.
Right.
Because it's almost like hey, so by the way, and it's like where you're facing the same direction as they are and you're just kind of talking into the side of them.
Right.
For whatever reason, that's such a comfortable approach. It is for me, and most people seem to, and I believe me as a DJ, I've done it a million times. And nobody seems to be put off by that at all.
Here's the thing about that side approach, and I think it's wonderful, and it is actually part of the way I approach somebody, because I think that no matter what, even if they're not interested in you romantically or they don't think you're good looking, it doesn't matter, because a side approach to anybody, they will have a little bit of a conversation with you. And once you begin a conversation with anybody, you can tell if there's interest right away, because there's going to be, they will lead it to another part of the conversation, a different conversation to keep the conversation going. Or if they just blatantly answer your question and not say another word, you can pretty much be assured that they're being polite and there's nothing wrong with that. They've answered your question. For example, what kind of drink is that? It looks, it's this, blah, 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 blah. And you go, oh, that looks really good. Maybe I should order one. And they go, oh, you should. And then they begin the conversation. If they say, yeah, it's good. It's got this in it and that. And then you go, oh, that's excellent. Maybe I should get one.
Right.
And then there's silence. They're not interested. And you can kind of gauge that very simply once you begin a conversation with somebody.
Well, this is the thing about before I started all of this, I should have said if you're not familiar with conversating with somebody in public, it might not be a bad idea to just sort of go out for the next couple of weeks and just make conversation with generally anybody.
Correct.
Men, women, old, young, whatever, just to get the feel of what works for you as far as beginning a conversation, and then what kind of body language and micro expressions come back at you, so that you can understand when somebody wants to continue talking or somebody's kind of done with it, so that you can pull yourself out, because you don't really have to ask. You don't have to ask men out. You can sort of just make it easier for them to talk to you, and it can kind of organically go in that direction. But a lot of people think, well, I have to walk up to a guy and ask about, and I can't do that. It's not really that.
No, that's not what you're doing. That's definitely not what you should be doing.
Right. And getting back to what Dave said, once the conversation is you should sort of have some idea, like, when the conversation is really kind of not going anywhere, or if it is. If the conversation continues, I would say that you should introduce yourself. I just don't think you should in the first 2 seconds. I think you should sort of introduce yourself after about 5 minutes.
Right.
Because you're not going to be important.
First.
You're not going to be remembered. It doesn't matter what your name is, I think, in the first couple seconds.
It doesn't. Nope.
Nor does it matter what theirs is, and you're not going to remember it. At least if you're me, you're not going to remember it. I don't know what other people do.
Yeah, me either.
But you got enough to worry about. Right. If it's going well, you can be like, oh, by the way, my name is blah, blah, blah. And they can say, oh, yeah, my name is so-and-so. And then you continue. Now you both have names, and there's somewhat of a personality and a click that you can kind of put with that name, and it's just more memorable that way.
I usually do the whole by the way thing when I if we're conversing for a few, like 5 minutes or so, you're right. I use about 5 minutes or so, or I like to talk, so it could be 10 minutes before I get to it, and I go, oh, I'm David, by the way. And I will actually reach out to shake their hand because I'm introducing myself at this point, saying hello.
That's fine.
And they usually shake my hand and tell me their name, and then the conversation continues.
Exactly. So I just, for some reason, believe that it's more personal and less, I don't know, less networking.
So does this even make sense?
That way?
You're sitting in a bar, and I walk up to somebody, and I go, hi, my name is David, and I put my hand out. So fucking what, you David? I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like,
as a woman, I'm going to be like, what is this guy?
Who gives a shit?
Is this guy going to try to sell me?
Hi, my name is David, and what? You're running for mayor? I mean, what are we doing? You know, it's the
approach that's
a silly approach.
Even if you don't, honestly, I believe even if you don't think that when somebody does it, your body immediately responds to somebody that comes at you like a beeline like that. Right. There's something about that where you feel that you need to be defensive. So, a side approach is an open approach, I think.
Correct.
So then we're going to go 2 more steps. One of them, or the third one, is going to be work some clear signs into the conversation. So if the conversation's going well and everything's going great, and you think he's funny, you should laugh. You should smile. Do flirty things if you want. Twirl your hair while you're talking.
Respond. Response.
I would say it's always good during a conversation, if you like a guy and it seems to be going well, to touch him at some point. And I mean, like, touch his arm, touch his hand, something where you have skin on skin so you can get an idea whether there's any energy there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to put it. It's not. It's just literally like a personal touch.
Yeah, and she doesn't mean don't grab him by his junk.
That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
These are all signs that you have interest to the person that you're talking to. Yes. This is signs of interest to him.
And you're right. It's a very good energy touch because to me.
But I would say,
that's important to me for sure. Energy.
I'm going to say also you should verbally confirm, because I have 100 male friends that would say, well, I didn't really know she was flirting with me. I had no idea. There are guys that are really oblivious to this. So that even though all of that's happening, he may still be like either unaware that you're that interested in you, but just not sure if you are, or just afraid to go there with it.
Right.
Verbally confirm it. Let him know that he's attractive. Do it clearly. And what I mean is, you can say like a flirtatious question about like let's say his marital status. Let's assume he's not wearing a wedding ring. You say something like, oh, hey, you're cute. You must get hit on a lot. Does your girlfriend hate that? This is and I'm saying this is a question that will, and I know that I don't like to play games, but this is a question that will get you an answer. Yeah, it'll get you an answer without like you having to be, without having to deal with you could save face with a question like this.
Do not flip the script during a good conversation and go, do you have a girlfriend? Or do you have a boyfriend?
Yeah,
because that immediately goes, oh, so that's what this is. You know,
well,
and it can happen.
Even if it is, it's just not I think it's a tacky way to do it.
It is. And it can definitely flip the script of the good conversation. You're having something grow organically, and all of a sudden, boom, it becomes we're trying to date thing. And personally, I do not like that at all.
Right. So if you could say something like, man, if I, you being out by yourself in a supermarket or nightclub or wherever this is happening. Well, if I was your girlfriend, I would never let you out of the house. Something like that. That's a verbal confirmation that you have attraction and interest.
But definitely not that, because then you go, well, if you were my girlfriend, that would suck.
Well, no, but you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's something that gives him a clear sign that you're interested.
Correct.
And attracted.
And I will probably answer the question, go, no, I don't have a girlfriend. And that's a good way to ask. And I agree with that. 100%.
What I'm saying is that he'll respond in one of two ways only. He'll either correct you immediately and say, "Oh, I'm not involved,"
right?
Which means he's interested, or he'll either not say anything or just sort of go, "Yeah, my girlfriend does hate that."
Yep, and then you know.
And then you know where you're at. Now, you
That's
can
right.
still talk to the guy, but at
Of
least
course.
get an idea where
Don't just
you
walk
are
away.
within
Oh,
the-
you have a girlfriend?
course
Peace.
not.
Because now you look like, okay, so you're just looking for a boyfriend. You weren't really interested in having a
Right.
conversation with a man.
But if you're a girl that's trying to approach a guy, I mean, this is data and information that you're getting
correct.
back so that you understand what's going on, right? So if he says to you, oh no, I'm clearly single, I have no girlfriend, you want to move to step 4. And step 4 is, because you're interested, you're making an effort to interact with somebody that you like. It doesn't mean that you
Sleepover?
should be the only one
That's step
making an
4?
effort.
Sleepover?
What was it?
Sleepover?
No.
Oh,
No, Dave.
okay. Well,
That's not step anything. Oh, not in my world anyway.
well, step something.
Yeah. What I was saying is that just because you're interested and you're doing all this doesn't mean that you need to be the one doing all the work. So
Correct.
for me, step 4 is to sort of step back. There are men that will enjoy the attention and will continue with this because I call them tire kickers. I don't know how else to put it. Men deal with it with women too, where women will just
of course.
be like all in it because it's happening. So what you want to do is, hey, listen, it was great talking to you. I have to get back to my friends. I have to get to the next place I'm going. Whatever. But this is a great conversation, and I would love it if we connected another time.
Yeah, stay in touch somehow. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And then from there, you were hoping that he says, hey, let me get your number, or something like that. You want him to say, you want him to make the effort on the other side of that statement.
Right.
Yes, let's connect again. Can I get your number? Or hey, let me give you my number. Or I would say that it's better to get
Facebook,
hers.
and a lot of people do that too. They just exchange Facebook today, and
okay, we can do that. That's also fine.
It's
but
a start,
somehow,
right? There'll be
even
a
Messenger or something like that. But I would say that it's better that he has your information. Because you really did, to be honest with you, as a woman, and in today's society, that's a lot of effort for a woman to put forward for a guy that she's interested in. So I think at this point, it would be good for him to kind of put a couple steps in.
Correct. I agree with you on that.
So I would give him your information, and then he's either going to use it or he isn't.
The next step is
And that's okay.
Yep.
Right. But
the
you can't say, I will say, women, this is the only reason that this is a good thing, and I say this only in my experience, is because if you put everything if you make an effort to show that you're interested and you have attraction, and you're fully on your side of it, putting effort in to continue a conversation or whatever you're doing, you will never have to kick yourself for some guy that you saw in a place, and for 2 weeks you go, well, why didn't I talk to him? I don't know why I didn't talk to him. I have friends that have done this, and I've been through this, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'd rather get rejected in 30 seconds.
Right.
By somebody, or have somebody just not be interested in me in 30 seconds and find out right away, than spend 3 weeks or 2 weeks kicking myself over some guy that I ran into somewhere and I never saw again.
Right.
Because I didn't say anything. That didn't make any sense.
And that could happen, right? That person could be.
It has happened.
Yeah, of course it does. It happens to all of us. I'm like, why didn't I talk to her or whatever? Because now I'm never going to see her again, and you can't get her out of your head. And you're like, well, if I really thought, why wouldn't I just approach somebody? And that used to happen to me a lot when I was younger, because I didn't know how to approach somebody. And I'm going to say this: my father said to me a long time ago, when you're in a room, approach the most beautiful woman in the room, because she's probably the loneliest. And I won't say she's not the busiest, because usually they are. And the way that I approach somebody in a room, and I will tell you, for example, I was out at this bar with a friend of mine, and these 2 women came in, and one of them was like mind-boggling beautiful. They were from Canada. And they were here visiting in a bar in Salem, at Mass. And, so everybody, somebody introduced me to her, and the table was surrounded by men. Okay. And so I went up, I said, how you doing? And, that was it. And the person I was with stayed, and I go, nope, get out of here. Let's go. So we went to the back of the room, sat at a table. Now, these girls were surrounded by men, like I said, and shortly after, a little while, guess who closed the gap? They did. They were sitting at the table across from us. I ignored that they were there. I let them alone. They literally walked away from all the men, because they were being bombarded, because, that is, does that mean she's unapproachable? Nope. So I got up, went to walk for a cigarette. And as I was walking by, I said, did you get any proposals? And she laughed, and I continued outside to go smoke my cigarette. On the way back in, I go, look what happened. I go, you left all your men behind. I go, you broke everybody's heart. She laughed again, and she's like, do you want to do a shot with us? There it is. We began the conversation. The conversation was very simple because I did a walk by, a side conversation. She wasn't done with the conversation, even though I walked away. I gave it to her, and then on my way back, I said another thing, except I walked, and it was a little bit longer and required a response, and she laughed again, and she said, do you want to do a shot with us? Because she realized I'm not a threat. Because here's the thing. I didn't approach her like, I want to marry you. I had I'm not saying I wasn't interested in the girl, because of course I was, at that point. She's beautiful. That's all I have to go on. Right. So when I approach somebody, I don't approach them with, I'm trying to get a date or their phone number or anything. All I'm trying to do is say hello to somebody and see if I even like the voice that comes out of their head. Right. Because
you get to decide too, whether you, as part of the equation, whether or not you like the person.
Of course. All I know is I like her body and the way she looks. Right. That's all I know. I could have walked by and said, did you get any proposals? And she goes, no, I didn't get any. And I go, oh, yeah, I'm done with that, right? I don't want to hear that kind of voice, right? Right. So that changes things a little bit because and then once we start having conversations, so now I bring my buddy over and there's two of us and two of them. And, guys are walking by still looking, but they can't stop now because they have who they feel their protectors, really. And whatever we're being used for, it doesn't matter. The thing of the matter is that you have a conversation, you let it grow organically into whatever it's going to be. And I'm a huge believer in letting things grow organically.
But you make your connection, right?
You do. You make a connection, and you say, and you make a connection in a way that the woman doesn't feel threatened. I was not like all the other men. I wasn't sitting there staring at them and like looking at her like she's a piece of meat, because although from across the room that's all she is. I'm looking at her beauty first.
As a woman, I can tell you when Dave says threatened. I mean, I know that there are some men that they're going to be offended by that word, but to some degree, women do have to be careful of our safety.
Of course.
And it is really hard to distinguish between human beings and people that are just ruling like Pavlovian dogs.
And I'm going to say that,
old,
guys.
And it starts young for us,
I'm going to say, guys, when I was, and I'm using the same story, and this is not a one-time thing, by the way. This happens a lot. And take a look at the guys that are hanging around that table. They look like vultures. They don't look like anybody that these girls or anybody would want to be around. I mean, I would be embarrassed if they were one of my friends. Exactly. I would be embarrassed if one of my friends was doing that. Like when I walked away and my friend stayed, I go, let's go. I made it clear to him, get the hell out of here. Leave them alone, because
it's almost like it's almost like the inch that if you give someone an inch, they take a mile. It really is like that. If you just and I just want to say, this is why men are probably, if we're friendly to men out in public, there are men that will assume that's interest because the contrast is so great. For women, we don't laugh, we don't look at men, we don't like smile, we don't, because it's like we're giving them that inch, a lot of them.
Right.
And so as in society, we are programmed to not invite interaction because
and the guys
a lot
have
of times
to learn
we
to break
regret
that.
it.
And guys have to learn a way around that, right? Which I've totally accepted. And I appreciate it too, because especially if it's somebody that I'm attracted to, chances are pretty good a lot of other guys are attracted to it too. And the thing is that there has to be a different way to approach, because if she's an attractive girl, like we talked about this in one of the other episodes, the song, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. So the whole point behind that is that, guys are going to flock. And when they flock to a woman like that, the girl feels like, all right, back the hell up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we honestly, it's overwhelming and it's overstimulating, and we cannot process. We can't
Of course not.
Straight.
And how, okay, so guys, here's the thing. How do we get around that and not be looked at as another guy that's just looking at her as prey, right? So the key is, and Lana brought it up, is the side conversation where you just kind of make a comment on it depends on how busy she is too. If she's got a lot of guys approaching her, I will do the walk by approach. I will make a comment. I'll say something funny, preferably to get her to laugh. And that kind of makes her feel at ease. When somebody laughs, they feel at ease automatically. It's just the way we are as human beings. It's psychology 101. If you laugh, usually it relaxes you a little bit. It takes away that threatening. I'm no longer a threat because I'm funny to her. So then I go and I leave. I leave her alone. So now she does not feel threatened by me in any stretch of the imagination, but yet I'm that guy that just made her laugh. I'm
and
acceptable.
Understand, by the way, guys, that Dave is coming from a non-outcome dependent.
Correct.
In other words, it doesn't matter to Dave if anything ever happens with us.
Nope. If I don't get a number, if
you
I'm
have
not,
to be this way.
Doesn't matter.
And if you are this way, it will translate. I know a lot of guys say, "Well, if I don't say anything, it doesn't matter." If you have this vibe where you're hoping it turns into something, we smell it like dogs smell fear. I'm telling you.
90% of the time, I have a conversation with a woman for the first time. 90% of the time, she's offering her number. I don't even ask. And I believe that's a good sign that we can take it to the next step. It grows organically. And if I'm entertaining enough or whatever it is, and she finds me charming, I have no idea. It doesn't even matter because in reality, it's just because I find somebody attractive doesn't mean it's my choice any longer, right? It's her choice. If she says, you know what? I don't like you. You're old. I don't like guys with gray hair. I don't like guys without beards. It doesn't matter to me. I could care less what the reason is. Doesn't matter. If she's not interested, that's okay. And I've made a lot of friends like this too. So, I have a lot of, if you look around in my circle, I have a lot of very beautiful women as my friends. And, people are like, why do you hang out with so many good looking women? Well, because I approached them with nothing. I wasn't looking for anything specific. So they feel safe around me and we end up becoming friends because there was no interest there. Maybe on her side, maybe on my side, maybe on both. Because as things grow, it doesn't matter if and we've talked about this before. When I approach somebody, I look at them across the room and go, could I see myself married to that woman? Yes. But all I'm looking at is the way she looks. Would it be nice to be married to her? Yes. So let's go take it to the next step. Now I have a conversation with her. Can I see myself married to her for the rest of my life? Nope. But that doesn't mean I can't be, but I enjoy her conversation. I like her company. That means we can end up being friends, and that's okay too. I think a lot of people are like all or nothing, and I think we should actually have an episode one week about how to break up with somebody, because I just helped somebody break up with somebody because they took it to a level. And she was satisfied with the way everything was, but she knew it wasn't going to grow anymore. So she needed to tell him that. It was a good way to have a conversation. And I think that should be one of our episodes, actually.
I'm sure it will be.
Because so I'm friends with all my exes. And the reason I am is because I never forced it to be something it's not. And that's what destroys relationships. So it's the same thing at the beginning, too. Don't try to force it into anything. Let it go where it's going to go and accept where it goes. And the reason I brought up the breakup thing is because when she told the guy, I just don't feel us going to the next level. He's like, oh, so this whole thing was crap and you never loved me and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, that's your insecurity. That's on him. And I explained to her, that's on him. That's the way he's taking it. And if you can't be friends after that, that's too bad. That's a shame. But like, guys, if you approach a woman and you approach her with the sole thought process of, I want to date this girl, and she's not interested in you, you walk away, you may have left behind a great friend, right? Like, me and you've been friends for a long time. If we met that day with the intention of, if I met you with the intention of getting laid, and I was, and we didn't have a connection like that, then what? I walk away and go, fuck her. She's not the right one for me. Right. That's stupid. We have a great relationship.
All the time, yeah.
It is. It's so stupid. So
it's
guys,
one-track minded. It really
approach with the idea of just meeting somebody new. That's all. Like to say hello to somebody and see what happens. Just because she's beautiful doesn't mean she's going to be a girlfriend.
You have to really, really not care. And I know there are guys that are just thinking to themselves right now, well, then what's the point of me leaving the house if I'm just going to meet people and nothing's ever going to come of it? I don't know, but you got to change that mind process too. Yes. I need to just widen my social circle. I you know, I need to just get out and meet people and do things and whatever, you know, like, and it should really, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we should try to figure out an episode of how to change the thought process of like, I'm out to fish and get something on the end of my hook. And that's like, I mean, I've seen guys just go out for a loaf of bread and like try to make it into, I'm trying to meet somebody.
Right.
And I've actually asked guys like, isn't it exhausting like that?
Yeah.
Your entire existence of leaving the house just like trying to find somebody to date like perpetually. Aren't you tired after a day of that? Like, can't you just go to the store and buy bread because you need bread? Like,
right.
You know, like that whole extra concept of, and maybe I might meet somebody while I buy bread.
Oh my God.
So exhausting to me to
I've
hear.
met people everywhere because I will talk to anybody. And my friends have always said that, I'm going out with you because you'll talk to anybody. Well, I'm talking to everybody, and I talk to men too. And I'm not interested in them sexually, but I talk to men too. So the thing is that if I'm having conversations with people, then they recognize that too. Because if a woman is looking at me and she's interested, she sees me talking to other men. She sees me talking to other women. But she doesn't see me sitting there hovering and going, okay, then I failed this one. Let me go to the next one. That's just, to me, is ridiculous.
Dave,
look like
an
idiot.
He flits. He goes from one group to the next group to the next group.
I flit
but
and say
that's
hello.
cool, though.
But when I'm interested,
you do work the room, Dave, but for a different reason.
Yes, they will feel and understand if I like them. They'll know because they'll see that I'm spending more time. Like, I used to go to this club all the time, and I would bounce from group to group to group to group to group, you know, and people are like, you just know everybody, you know, and it's like, I do, because I go there, and when I go there, I talk to people, and I get to know people, and I was always that guy that would leave the bar with a bunch of phone numbers, and everybody's like, how you get so many phone numbers? Because I didn't ask for them. And I didn't ask for them, but people want to continue this, whatever it is, whether it's a friendship or whatever. And that's truly, I think, why it works for me, because I don't go. I'm not trying to bring you home and bang you. You know what I mean? And people realize that I'm leaving. Right. I'm leaving, and they go, well, I want to talk some more. So here's my number. You know, I enjoy this conversation, so let's continue have the conversation. Stop trying to make it about. And
you know what that is?
That's
sack. The thing. That's the thing where Dave talks to somebody and he does not trip their defense mechanism.
Right.
That's really what that is.
Yes.
I just want to bring it back to that.
You're right.
He's not putting them on the defensive. They're not trying to just get him to back up.
Right.
And I'm telling you, as soon as a woman is trying to do that, she's no clue who you were. She's not going to remember anything you're saying.
That's right.
There's no, if Dave just says, hey, how you doing? And then we talk, we don't, whatever. That's basically what it's like. Yeah. And there's some kind of conversation she gets to, whether it becomes a friendship or it doesn't, she gets to feel him out as a human being. Say, oh, hey, this is, she gets to understand what he's about because she's absorbing the information that's coming out of him, and she's not trying to get him to back up. That wall is not there.
Right. It doesn't need to be.
I don't know if that makes sense. But
it does. It's
as a woman,
you're exactly right. And I've recognized that over the years because I've been single for a long time.
Don't trip the wall, guys. Don't trip it.
No, and you trip the wall as soon as you go over there with some sort of intention.
Yes.
When you go with an intention, you're failing already. Right.
And remember this, I said this in an earlier episode, do not be outcome dependent.
Correct.
Don't be outcome dependent.
Right.
Don't say, well, I want to go out, and when I come home, I want to have this thing have happen to me. If you're going out with that attitude, you're gonna come home without anything, or you're gonna come home with you're gonna be frustrated.
Right.
And it's only because, what they say, frustration is frustration is the mother of, I don't know. What's that thing where it's like if you expectation is the mother of frustration or something like that, or the mother of disappointment.
Yes,
because
of course it is.
If you put something in your head that you expect to happen and it doesn't, you're going to frustrate yourself. That's you frustrating yourself, and nobody has anything to do with that.
You know what I expect to happen, and this is the God's honest truth. When I go out and I begin a conversation with somebody, I expect that I'm going to have a conversation. That's all I expect. I don't expect them to go, oh, I love talking to you. Let me give you my number. If that happens, it's a nicety. And it happens a lot because.
But you're an intrinsic guy. If you're intrinsic, Dave's intrinsic, I happen to be intrinsic, meaning we can entertain and support and we are internally happy people.
Right.
So what happens on the outside, there's no external motivation or happiness that we need.
Correct.
So we're content in conversating with people. Conversating is not a word. Conversing with people and saying, "Oh, hey, it was great to see you." But we're not, whether that person likes us or wants to keep talking to us or whatever. We're not concerned with that happening. That's just like not part of it.
Yeah,
it's great if it does.
Sure,
there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah,
but we're not seeking
I like new friends. I like new friends, but that's not what I'm there for.
Right.
I'm there to just say hello and whatever. I'm interested in learning more about this person, and that's how I do it. And, you know, if it goes somewhere, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I'm not there with any specific intention. I don't have a plan. I do not expect that I'm going to leave with this girl, which it can happen sometimes too. You know, oh, you want to continue the conversation? Right. We're going to breakfast. Do you want to come? I've been invited to breakfast so many times. And a lot of times I'll say, well, no, but you know, you want to give me a call and we'll go hang out sometime. I like that too. Mm-hmm. So I don't always like force myself down somebody's throat, because especially if they're drinking too, I may skip breakfast and they may realize, wow, this dude wasn't just trying to get in my pants. Otherwise, you would have came to breakfast. Because I don't want them to think that that's what I'm looking for. Because honestly, I'm not.
Can I tell you also, Dave, that you probably are in the other person's shoes, meaning that you've been in the shoes of the women you're talking. So maybe that's why you have that perspective too. Maybe. Because you've been in a position where people have been trying to just get something from you.
Correct.
And you being like, well, I'd really love to know this person, but this person is just got an agenda of some kind.
Yeah, and I recognize agenda as well. And so, you know, especially now that I've become successful in my business, I see that agenda more so now. And so I definitely can relate to it more now than I could before. I mean, when I was in the band, I got that too. Right.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah. That's where it started really from me, because I mean, that's where the band name came from, Love and Cry, because my stage name was Cry. They were Love and Cry, not David. They didn't give a shit about David. They had an agenda. I want to be backstage. I want to be with the singer of the band, whatever, because it was something for them, and it wasn't really for conversation. Right. And yes. So if I can recognize it, guys, if I could recognize it as a man that just, you know, hey, there's a hot chick talking to me and chances are pretty good I can get laid. If I can recognize it as a man, then think of how the women are, because they don't want to just go home and have sex. They want to meet a good man. So the only way for you to be a good man is to truly be true and be honest and be, you know, you can't just walk up to somebody and go, oh my God, you're beautiful and I would love to spend the rest of my life with you. Think how that would work. Imagine if a girl come up to you and go, hey, you got good genes. Let's, I want you to go to the doctor with me and give me a sperm and have my kid. I mean, you'd go, what? Beat it, right? You'd be like, no, thanks.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
so it's just that bad. You know, I mean, that's extreme, but we're getting.
And you've heard it, but yes. I'm sorry.
You said you heard. I was listening.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm sure that you've heard, like, just the lines that come out of these guys.
Yes, I have.
In person, but, you know, and anywhere else. But I did want to, of course, this is an all over the place conversation, but there's so much information.
Yeah,
but I wanted to add in really quick to the ladies out there. If you're being approached by men in a place and you approached by a man that you don't like, try to temper your response to them. I have seen people just be. I have friends that are guys, and they're just
an asshole.
Oh, women are ruthless. They're just ruthless. I'm not talking to a girl. I'm not going to get my nuts cut over the. Well, I'm just telling you, if a guy's not interested, you're not interested in a guy that's approaching you. One, for the many women that say, I can't believe he would think that I'd be interested in him.
Don't.
The man has nothing. This man has nothing to lose, and of course, no guy is ever going to think along the lines that your response comes from.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to lose by approaching you, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of douchey to have that attitude, but whatever. But the way you treat a guy you're not interested in, is very apparent sometimes to a guy that you are interested in.
And I
if
can
you want
tell
the guy
you,
to approach you that you are interested in, you might want to not be a douchebag.
That's
to the
right.
guys that you're not interested in.
Because good man is not going to deal with a mean woman. Period.
Right.
Because
or mean anybody. You know.
Yeah,
who wants to put up with that?
I'm going to tell you. I was, and you've heard the story before, and we're going to have to wrap this up actually. But I was out with somebody once, and she was really good to me, and she was bad to the waitress, and I left her there. She had her own car, so I didn't leave her stranded. But I paid the tab, and I said, yeah, we're leaving. I'm leaving. She's like, we haven't even got our food yet. And I go, I'm not interested in having dinner with you. I just realized that you're a mean person. She goes, I'm not mean. I go, you're treating this poor waitress like shit. I'm not interested in being around somebody like that. It's horrible to me. So, yeah, so you hit the nail on the head. If I'm sitting there and I'm sitting next to a girl and we're making eye contact and stuff, and then, we're getting ready to close the gap, it appears, or I'm getting ready to make a conversation and some guy approaches her and she's like, listen, I'm not interested or she's something rude. Do you think I would go out with you? Do you really think I would go out with you? Look at me and look at you. I've heard somebody say that, and I go, are you kidding me? Look at you what? Look at you. You just open your mouth, and you're way uglier than him. I would rather take him home than you at this point. And I'm not gay. It's just, it really will destroy who you are as a person. Remember, what comes out of your mouth is what keeps you attractive. You may be attractive on the outside, but what comes out of your mouth shows us truly who you are. So if you're not really that person, think carefully what you say. But, here's the thing. We can tell somebody, no, don't say it. But if you're even thinking it, then you're probably a shitbag anyway, and good luck to you.
Right. So, I'm just saying,
you're right.
People are people. I guess as we get older, I remember us being in our 20s and, we kind of could have been mean girls sometimes. I'm not going to lie. We all
I get
have been through it. But as you get older, you're just kind of like, somebody coming up and saying, hey, and how you doing? Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, guys should be respectful and that kind of thing.
Right.
But if somebody comes up and says, hey, how you doing? And is trying to take you out or buy you a drink or whatever it is.
Right.
And you're not interested in that person, there's just really no reason to be extremely rude
No,
about
I mean,
it.
okay, so let me ask you this, ladies, since she's talking about that. And I'm going to say this. Let's say I'm sitting there and you and I are having eye contact and you're interested and you see me across the room and all of a sudden a heavy woman, which I'm not attracted to heavy women. I think everybody's beautiful, but that's not what I'm attracted to. How would it be if the girl come up to me and said, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I go, yeah, I'm not interested. You're fat, and look at me. Do you think I'm going to date somebody that's fat? What would you think? Would you want to still then approach me? I mean, think about it that way, right? So there's really no difference. You'd look at me and go, wow, that guy's an asshole, right? And you'd probably go up to me and tell me, you're an asshole, and say, don't even talk to him. He's a piece of shit, right?
Right.
And you wouldn't be wrong, but
that'd
think
be
about
me.
it.
I'd say exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would too, actually, because I would never, ever. But ladies, when you do it, you're no different. Right. Just hear us out, and you're absolutely right, Lana.
It's just,
if you do that,
not nice. Not nice.
Guys are going to think the same thing. And they may just not come up and go, dude, come with me. Let me buy you a beer. She's a douche, but that's really what you're doing. You're doing the same thing as if a guy was to say, look at me and look at you. You're fat. I don't date fat girls. Beat it. That's just horrible. But ladies, you're doing the same thing if you're being rude to a guy that and you don't even know. He may, especially if he's not an attractive man and he's taking a chance with a beautiful woman, give him some credit. Because that takes balls, too. Because you don't know he could be drunk, too.
And that flips over to the women who I was talking to about meeting somebody. I mean, it's all subjective to me. So what's attractive to me and what's unattractive to me for everybody is very different. And so, somebody coming up and approaching you that is looking to, hey, I want to get to know you or whatever the case may be, just like you would approach a guy and in your attitude towards whether or not you think that this guy is going to want to talk to you because you were approached.
Right.
I mean, just put yourself in their shoes in the sense of you're going to be, if you were approaching a guy that was good looking and you thought he was better looking.
Yeah, you wouldn't want him to be mean. Yeah.
Right. So it's just basic. I don't understand why it's not hard to put yourself in somebody's shoes like that and say, well, I've done this, and maybe that's why I'm the way I am, because I actually approach a lot of guys, and a lot of the guys I date are guys I have approached. So maybe I see it that way because of the fact that, also let me say real quick, women that say to me, well, I talked to one guy and he wasn't interested in me, so I'm not going to go after guys anymore because it's too heartbreaking. You think most men have not been through that at least once?
A lot. right?
So,
So
and
we get turned down a lot more than women
right.
get turned down.
And the
I
reason
can
they do
promise
is
you.
because they make more moves than women do. I mean, it's just,
Correct.
this is odds and statistics, right?
Right.
And
so there's a nice thing called humility in life. If you have to be able to handle that in all walks of life.
But you can't. You're not going to be able to understand it or handle it if you don't do it.
Correct.
It's
That's
just
it.
not going to be able to.
That's the way you do it. You just do it, and
Right. Hey, you go through it once and you say, okay, the guy wasn't interested in me. Oh, okay. I mean, these are guys that you maybe don't know at all. So if somebody's not interested back, that's okay. I just want you to know, ladies, that daily, about 80 or 90% of the men you see daily are not interested in you, but you don't know that because you didn't ask. That's the only difference.
That's right.
That's the only difference. So all you're doing is asking. You're saying to a guy that you're interested in, hey, are you interested back? And just like the match game, if they say, hey, no, I'm not. And that's not how the conversation actually goes.
Yeah, of course.
But what I'm saying is your odds are what they are. Just because somebody isn't telling you they're not interested doesn't mean that they're not.
Yeah, and if we don't talk to people, if we continue on this social path that we're on, and we're actually
I know, I understand.
So I think the moral of the story is today, if we maintain this social path that we're on, we're going to be missing out on great friends, great conversations, and great people in our lives. So, when you approach somebody, approach them with the idea of this could be your best friend for the rest of your life. This could be somebody that you grow old with and live with.
Well, you know what? I would say this, approach them with, live in the moment and approach them and say, hey, this person might have some interesting information about themselves that I don't know.
Right.
Here's somebody in front of me that I can learn about I can learn about them as a person. Here's a new person to learn about. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I'm me and I have my life and whatever. And here's a person who can tell me about them. I always try to learn about the other person, I think.
Yes, of course.
Nobody's going to have a problem with that. I mean, some people won't talk to you. But again, whatever happens, whatever one person does, that's on them.
Right.
But always have the open quality of, hey, I want to talk to somebody and I'll learn a little bit about them. Hey, where are you from? Whatever. Yeah. And it doesn't matter where it goes. If you try very hard to not focus on where it's going.
Right. Exactly. Thing. Yeah. Don't try to force it
even
somewhere.
A friendship, even to say, well, this could be a friendship. Don't even worry about that.
No. Maybe it won't. Maybe
just say,
you'll
hey,
find...
I'm here with this person in this room and I'll ask them what
may have a 20-minute conversation with somebody and realize that you don't like this person as a human being. I mean, you don't know
you
where
like them, but you just may both go on your way, and you may
that's it.
Leave each other with a really nice thought of another human being, and that's it.
That's it. I've had many, many, many conversations with women that I've never talked to ever again. And do I hate that? No, I don't hate that. It's wonderful. Right. I had a great conversation with this, many times. I've had a great conversation, sat down with. I remember I had dinner with this woman once. We were at a bar and she's like, I'm starving. I go, me too. She's like, you want to order some food? You want to eat with me? I said, yeah. We sat there. We ate dinner together. We had a conversation. We did not exchange numbers. It was not somebody that I just enjoyed a moment, and that's it. And if you get that moment, then that's fine. If you want more, ask and see where it goes. If it's not, if it's going to be, it's going to be, and you can't really force it. But don't leave it empty-ended too. The reason why we didn't exchange numbers and stuff is we found out that, she lived, very far away, and we didn't feel like we needed to stay in touch. It was just that was the end of it,
right?
And that's okay too.
See, that's mutual. Both people agreed, and everybody was happy.
Yes. But we had a wonderful evening, and I remember her, and I won't forget it. And I'm sure she remembers the night too, because we both weren't drinking that night. I think she was on antibiotics, and I wasn't drinking because I didn't feel like it, or whatever the case was. Right. And there's a bunch of drunk people around us, and we just kind of zoned out and enjoyed our time together, and that was it. It was actually, we actually had a really good connection, but it was not going to go further than that. That's all.
Right.
And that's okay.
At the end of the day, the approach itself is, to me, the success.
Correct.
It's just successful that you do it. The outcome of what happens from the approach it doesn't have anything to do with what happens after that.
Right. You can't.
Right? So you can't say, well, the success is that, I talked to somebody and they weren't interested in talking to me, so I'm not going to approach anybody ever again, because the approach itself was really the success. You made the approach and you found out the information.
That's right.
And then you say, okay, I'll take this information and do with it what I need to do with it. But you making the approach is not
Yeah, it's kind of like in
failure.
sales. In sales, they say, every no you get, you're one step closer to yes. And so and I like to talk to a lot of people because I don't want to miss out on the person that I could spend the rest of my life with. I don't know that.
Right.
But if I don't talk to people, how do I know? And I'm worried today in social societies today where people are just shutting everybody off and it's all on the internet. You don't get to know somebody from the internet. I don't care who you are, because text does not come across the same as a physical conversation. And again, for me, energy is very important. If somebody touches me and I feel it, for me, the energy that I like is when somebody touches me and I feel really relaxed. That means we've got good energy together. That's important to me.
Right.
So I can't get that from the internet. I don't care how many pictures you post. And we were going to talk. We were going to bring up.
Two-dimensional.
Yes. Oh. We were going to talk a little bit about. That was me. I touched my mic.
Don't touch your mic.
I did it.
I did too. Now, see, now I did
touched
too.
It.
Yeah. We were going to talk a little bit about pictures or DMs or texting.
We're not going to.
We're going to get into that another time.
Yeah, we're going to do that another time because we are out of time.
I knew we had a lot of information.
We do. But you know what? We can. There's a whole nother conversation about social media and meeting people through social media too. We should do an episode on that, and I think we should do an episode on breaking up with somebody and how to do it appropriately, so you don't trash the current situation, right?
And for ladies out there, Dave and I might put together something where we can be contacted for people who are in a social situation and not sure what to do next.
Yeah, I just actually helped somebody. I just literally wrote the text messages, and unfortunately she had to do it in text because that's just who she is. And I literally wrote the text messages for her and sent them to her, and she copied and pasted them verbatim, and she would tell me what he said and I would respond because he wasn't taking no for an answer. And so I go, well, here's what's going to happen. We're starting off very light. And again, this is going to be transferred into another one. But we started off very light. He didn't get it. We added a little more. He denied it. We added a little more, and then he stopped talking. He was like, fine. And I said, be prepared, because he's eventually going to say, he goes, so all you want is dick. And I go, I told you that was coming. I go, I knew that he was going to be insecure about this and he was going to get mad. And I go, let him, that's on him. Do not engage,
Right.
You're saying what you said. And eventually she gets to the point, she's like, look, I said what I said. I mean, what more do you want from me?
Right.
There is no reason why. He's like, so you never loved me. No, I did love you. I do love you, but as a human being. Right. So let's not confuse that. But anyway, we're not going to get into that today, but we should do an episode on that. And if you guys want to see us, if you guys have any ideas for episodes.
If there's anything you guys want us to discuss or you have any questions, definitely send them to us.
Yeah.
We'll be glad to, because there's so many things to.
We do get some good ideas from people, from listeners that say, you guys should do a podcast on this. You guys should do a podcast on that. And so, send away and Lana will explain to you all the different places that you can send us. But first, I'm going to say thank you guys for listening this week. And, I hope you enjoy the episode. And remember, if you enjoy the episode, buy us coffee, because my coffee cup is empty right now. I don't know if you can hear this.
Mine is almost empty.
I might have a half a sip.
I'm ready for a fresh cup.
Me too. But you can buy us a coffee by buymeacoffee.com/Lana and Dave. And then if you want to send us any information or you want to comment and stuff.
Why don't you try www.lanaanddave.com, and that's LANAANDDAVE.com. And all of our social media presence is there, so you can check with us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. You can send us messages any of those ways if you want, just to kind of let us know what you want us to discuss, or if there's something that you have a question on, or any further information from stuff that we've already said. We'll fill you in if you need it.
Right.
We'll answer anything you need.
And everything is Lana and Dave. That's correct, right? So if you go to Facebook, it's Facebook/Lana and Dave. You go to, or at Lana and Dave, at Lana and Dave everywhere, Twitter, all the places that Lana mentioned.
Exactly.
So, so thank you guys for listening. This was a fun one.
This was a fun one. And it's fun, but it's also,
it's serious.
I think it's extremely important, and
it is.
And it was, to some degree, it was really informative, or at least
I hope
it was. It wasn't for me because I already knew the information, but I hope it was informative for somebody listening.
Yeah. So
to me.
Guys, this is important. Share this with your friends, because if you have friends that struggle meeting people, meeting women specifically, let them hear this and at least understand. Give them an idea, something to try. Look, it's the worst case scenario, but you have to have the right mindset. You have to truly believe that I'm not going up to this woman for anything, because otherwise you're going to make yourself nervous too. If you're going to be nervous that you're not going to get the result you want. But if you if you're not looking for a specific result.
And do you know how many people I know that tried to date and it didn't work, and tried to date and it didn't work, and then finally they decided, you know what? I'm just going to work on myself. I'm going to go get myself together. I'm going to take this whole summer. Yep. I'm going to go find my friends. We're going to go to concerts. We're going to have a good time. I'm sick of this dating thing. I'm just going to go and be with people I love.
That's when they meet
and
somebody.
Have fun.
Yep.
And do everything. And, within like 2 weeks, they were like in a serious relationship with somebody they banged into out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And we're like, I never really thought this was true, that, if you stop focusing on it, it would happen. I never actually thought that was true. But
look,
I am.
Here we go again. Here's the danger with me and Lana. And the more podcasts we do, we could start a whole new damn podcast right now and continue on, right? So thank you guys for listening. Yep. Don't forget, buy us a coffee. Check us out on the social medias and say hello. And yeah, that's a wonderful thing.
So we will be talking to you soon, and we will be back next week.
That's right.
You guys have a great day. Hey, you just listened to Love and Life with Lana and Dave. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the podcast, leave us a comment or review, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new content. We'll see you soon.